Hi, I'm Ashley, and this is the first, hopefully, of many recordings that I'm going to make of poems that I enjoy and different writings that I enjoy, particularly dramatic writings. And I'm doing this really for myself. I have no idea whether anyone else will find this interesting or useful in any way, shape or form, and who knows what will become of it. So if you're interested in this stuff and you like what you hear, then show me some support in some way, subscribe to my channels, make a comment, and tell me what you're interested in, and I can see if that resonates with me and possibly indulge you. So I've yet to really figure out what I want to do or how I want to do it, but I do have a poem today that I'd like to share with you, and it's a poem by Walt Whitman, an American poet, and the poem is called The Dalliance of the Eagles. Skirting the river road, my forenoon walk, my rest, skyward in air, a sudden muffled sound, the dalliance of the eagles. The rushing, amorous contact high in space together, the clinching, interlocking claws, a living, fierce, gyrating wheel, 4 beating wings, 2 beaks, a swirling mass, tight, grappling, in tumbling, turning, clustering loops, straight downward falling, till o'er the river poised, the twain yet one, a moment's lull, a motionless, still balance in the air, then parting, talons loosing, upward again on slow firm pinions slanting, their separate diverse flight, she hers, he his, pursuing. So, something I'm interested in about poetry, aside from the imagery and the content and the use of language, is its form and structure. For a long time now, I've been curious about why do poets write in the way that they write? Why do they lay out their poems in the way they lay out their poems? Why do they make the choices that they make? And I've been teaching practical voice and language and text for a long time to actors. And I guess some thoughts that I've got, which I'd love to share with you, is that the punctuation in the poetic form holds more value with some poets than it does for others, and that the structure and form of it, the way it's actually laid out, seems to hold more value for some poets than it does others. And something that I enjoy playing with is ignoring the punctuation and thinking about how the line of the text is revealing something about the underlying feeling or the quality of the image that's being described. So this first line, for example, would be tempting to separate with those commas and those brackets, right? Skirting the river road, comma, my forenoon walk, comma, my rest, comma. But what if we drove that thought to the end of the line? What would be revealed by doing that? Skirting the river road, my forenoon walk, my rest. So to me, it suggests that when naming the activity of skirting the river road, that that what is wrapped up in that is the business of being on this forenoon walk, that it is a moment of rest in the day for this person. And those two thoughts are joined. They're not separate. They don't act separately. They're joined together. And in the second line, skyward in air, a sudden muffled sound, the dalliance of the eagles. That it doesn't take time for the writer, for the person experiencing this, to notice what that muffled sound is in the air, that it comes with a kind of immediacy. Instead of saying, skyward in air, a sudden muffled sound, the dalliance of the eagles, that I imagine, and I'm speculating, that if Whitman had wanted us to see those two things as being two separate, albeit sequential, but separate parts of the story, that they could have just been put over two lines, but they weren't. They were joined together like this over one line. So maybe the comma is like a little, I don't know, like it's just a little momentary hesitation in order to suggest the movement between these two parts of the image or the idea, but ultimately they're joined together, right? So no sooner has the muffled sound been made, the eagles and their dalliance has been recognized. And the next line runs without any punctuation. The rushing amorous contact high in space together. So it's clear immediately up in the sky what this contact is, that it's rushing. The clinching, interlocking claws, a living, fierce, gyrating wheel, that all joins together with these little skimming stone-like commas. 4 beating wings, 2 beaks, a swirling mass, tight, grappling. That again, if I separate that with all those commas, 4 beating wings, 2 beaks, a swirling mass, tight, grappling, that it slows the image down. Whereas I imagine, and again I'm speculating because I haven't actually seen this firsthand, but that I imagine this moment is very brief. That this thing that goes on in the air that Whitman is imagining is happening up above is a very brief thing. It's a very fortunate thing. It's a very coincidental thing. So these 4 beating wings, 2 beaks, a swirling mass, tight, grappling. That's all we hear. The pace, the pace of the image. If we join that all together with these little tears in the line, a tumbling, turning, clustering loops, straight downward falling. That again, it would be tempting, wouldn't it, to say in tumbling, turning, clustering loops, straight downward falling, but it's too slow for the image, and so perhaps the art of playing the game that I'm playing is about finding the individual descriptions whilst moving the image on, in tumbling, turning, clustering loops, straight downward falling. I mean, that must be quite something, mustn't it, to see these birds not flying but attached together in this amorous grip, falling out of the sky, presumably quite fast. And then we get something of a bit of space, till o'er the river poised, the twain yet one, a moment's lull. So again, it would be tempting to say, till o'er the river poised, the twain yet one, a moment's lull. Because we're sort of anticipating that those words at the end, a moment's lull, and then we end up slowing the whole line down. But actually, this is sort of breathtaking. It's taken this person that's witnessing this out of their moment of rest, on their forenoon walk. It's sort of captured their attention, and they're held in the grip of these downward falling eagles, and then they're poised, the twain yet one, a moment's lull. And then a motionless still balance in the air, then parting, talons loosing. Can you hear that? If we hesitate in the middle of that line, it gets a little bit indulgent, right? A motionless still balance in the air, then parting. It sounds too sort of, too considered, for me at least. And this is my opinion, of course. But if we run that together, then we get this sort of sense that this moment's lull, this motionless still balance in the air is just momentary. Because then we get the parting, the talons loosing. So then that line would be a motionless still balance in the air, then parting, talons loosing. It's like, wow, it's moving again. The image is shifting on. Upward again on slow, firm pinions slanting, their separate, diverse flight. Again, we don't play the comma, just drive it forward. And we're there with them, in this moment of separate, diverse flight. She, hers, he, his, pursuing. It's like, wow, I've gone on this forenoon walk to have a moment's rest, and then I'm literally arrested by this coincidental moment of these two eagles coming together in rushing amorous contact. And before I know it, it's over, and they've gone on their separate, diverse flight, she, hers, he, his, pursuing. And that line is the shortest line in the text. And so there's then space after it, where I imagine that Walt Whitman, if this is indeed him on his forenoon walk, or him imagining this person, on this walk, is left speechless. So how did that happen? How fortunate, how lucky am I to have witnessed that? And as is often the case with these sorts of poems, if indeed Whitman witnessed it, or witnessed something similarly arresting that was unexpected, that it probably took him, or a poet like this, straight back to their notebook, and they had to put pen to paper or fingers to a keyboard in order to capture this, because it sits right there in their imagination, in their felt experience. So if you thought that was interesting in some way, shape or form, and you fancy hearing more of this stuff, then subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think. And indeed, if you have any suggestions for poems that you'd like me to have a look at, then put the title, put the name of the poem, put the name of the poet, and I'll see what I can do.